Yeah, thank you all for coming. Uh, just as we get started, I think lots of you know who we are already. I'm James. You've heard from Owen during our weather activity. We're joined by our colleague Heather as well. She's going to run all of our polls and interactive stuff that we've got planned today. Hello, Heather.
Hey.
Thank you. And we're here basically because we want to help you figure this out. We want to help you with the people and performance challenges relating to AI adoption because that's what we do. Some of you I know signed up after seeing me speak at a conference, and a few of these ideas, well, some of these ideas will be familiar, but we're going to go into a lot more depth. This is not the same presentation you've seen already. This is really about how you can use habits and behavior as a way of helping to coach people through a change. And we want to hear from you as well. Please keep the chat going through the session. Keep using it. Keep posting your comments and questions. If you have any technical problems, please let us know. We can't promise to fix them, but we'll certainly be very sympathetic. That weather map, yeah, I mean, a mixed picture, unsettled, optimism, maybe some fear, fog, certainly, confusion. I feel pretty confident saying that some of you here today feel uncomfortable about AI and how well it's being used where you work, or maybe how it's not being used, or even the fact that you're not thinking about it much yet. And in case this helps, you are not alone in feeling like that. This comes up again and again, even in massive organizations that have been using Gen AI for as long as it's been available, places that you might expect to have figured all this out already. And in this session, we're going to talk about why you feel uncomfortable and what you can do about it. To avoid keeping you in suspense, our argument is that every organization should be focusing much more on simple, concrete things that really anyone can do to make a positive difference. And that's why this session is called How to Help Your People Be Good at AI. We well, we don't know why you're here. I don't want to guess, but we do know that there are lots of questions that come up. These are the types of questions that we've come across in organizations that we work with. They're all about different aspects of AI, even though they're all really different, and some of them are about regulation or governance or privacy or fairness or ethics or whether it even works or makes any kind of difference for the business. The thing that links them all, there is something that links them all that determines whether the answers, the outcomes are positive or negative, whether any of this actually works. And it's not about AI frameworks or policies or even the technology that you buy. The thing that really links all these things, and I hope it's true, the thing that links many of the things you care about where you work is what people do. Because our individual choices, everyone's individual choices at work affect outcomes. The ways people use AI or don't use it, the things that they do every day, often without even noticing that they're doing them because they've become habits. And I'd like to think about that for a minute. We're going to use the chat for this. So if you haven't got the chat open, get the chat up and think for a moment about the last time you reached for an AI tool. We're using the term AI broadly today because it's the one that everyone's using. But for this, let's agree we're talking about LLMs, so large language models like ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot or whatever you use. So think about that. The last time you reached for one of these tools, what was the first choice you made? And so 20 minutes ago, not sure if you're Bailey Saul or Saul Bailey,
Okay.
but 20 minutes ago, what was the choice you made? Was it whether to use one tool or another tool? Was it how to write your prompt? Maybe whether you're going to upload a spreadsheet full of data or not. It might be completely okay to upload it, but whether that was the first choice. So yeah, Rebecca, first choice to use it on my phone. So they're choosing to use a phone rather than on a laptop or another computer. Claire,
Deborah,
what did
really
you?
interesting
Deborah's
comment from
never used
Deborah.
it. I
Never
should
used
say if
it.
you don't use it, then do tell us that.
Well, that's a choice, isn't it? I guess. So
Yeah,
that's an important choice and one actually probably very relevant to a lot of people in the workplace. So
yeah.
thanks for sharing that, Deborah.
So Bailey Saul chose to use Copilot because it's encrypted, so it's safe to use at work. Claire, what did you choose first with Copilot 15 minutes ago? You chose to use Copilot, I think. So yeah, I guess that was the choice. Philippa using Copilot, Michelle Copilot. Um,
Quite a lot for comments about
yeah,
business search for
Yeah,
interrogating thinking and planning, which, yeah, I think
yeah,
that's a real classic, isn't it? The way that we integrate it into our personal everyday work.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. And I mean, these are Bethan, phone. Okay, so choosing whether to use ChatGPT, GPT, or Copilot. Tim doesn't have a choice. Tim is restricted to Copilot. Um, so yeah, those are good answers, and these things are real choices, like choosing which tool to use, choosing what you're going to do, whether okay, Taryn, could it help us and a client do something faster and less painlessly?
I
So
think that's
so
interesting,
thinking
isn't it?
about that, yeah.
Aaron's sort of second question, could it do it accurately? I guess the kind
Mm,
of question to when we're making those choices about whether to use it or not, yeah, is that
mm,
kind of question we're asking? Is
yeah.
this going to be accurate?
Yep. And so all those things, those are real choices and they change the outcome potentially for better or worse. But there is another choice that comes first, and that is whether to use AI at all. I know we had one response saying, I don't use it. I don't know whether that is a choice every time, but if it's always the case, it's easier, I guess. But if you are someone who uses AI some of the time, it's easy to make that a habit. And it can just become the default. Like it's not a choice, it just happens. And there are loads of other decisions like this that can be completely invisible. When you add them all up across all the people making those choices, collectively they determine what results your organization is going to get and whether the results are positive or negative. And last month we published some qualitative research with the Institute of Business Ethics, IBE, exploring this, the human and cultural dimensions of AI adoption. We spoke to lots of leaders and asked them what's happening where they work, how they feel about it. This was confidential. They were people in senior roles probably like some of yours, major public companies, private businesses across lots of sectors, different geographies. This publication is a joint outcome with IBE. What you're hearing today is my interpretation of this. So I'm going into more detail. I'm going to go into more detail. If you've heard me talk about this before, there will be more detail today. What do we find? Well, the first thing is most of these organizations feel like they're making progress on responsible AI. They've done a lot of work here often, and they've often spent a lot of money. Lots of them have got an AI strategy or a governance framework or an AI code of ethics or something like that. They have policies, they have approval processes. Often they've published something like this, responsible AI principles. I wrote these ones as an example. They're not from any particular organization, but they're often quite a lot like this. Like it talks about ethical AI, using it to create clear benefits for people, accountability, fairness, reducing bias, protecting privacy. These are good things. I mean, I think these may be familiar to some of you. You may have your own. But there's something else that kept coming up, and it was really surprising how consistent it was across very different organizations. When we got beyond these principles and the strategy and asked people how they really felt, what we found behind that was worry. And the common theme was the sense that there's a gap between what their organization aspires to, the principles, and the practice, what's actually happening day to day. Often feeling that adopting AI is seen as more important than using it responsibly or even using it well. Not training people how to use AI critically, not training them how to use their human judgment, and for many leaders knowing that really they've got no way to find out what's going on. There's very limited visibility into how people are actually using AI. A lot of large organizations are operating on trust without any clear ways to verify. And this gap between principles and practice, strategy and reality, that kept coming up. I'd like to check in on how that feels in this group. We're going to do a quick poll, which Heather will bring up. To reassure you, this is completely anonymous. Not even we know how you answer. Certainly nobody in the room is going to see your answer. So Heather, if you could pop that up, please. The question we would like you to answer is how confident are you that people where you work are using AI the way you want them to? You can interpret that however you want, but how confident are you that people are doing this the way you want them to? Naught would mean you are not at all confident. 10 would be completely confident. We'll leave that up for a moment so everyone can put their vote in. And then Heather, once people have responded, if I can ask you to switch to the results so everybody can see them. How are we doing?
Pretty much there.
Pretty
Um,
much there. I
or-
can't see how many people have answered it.
yeah,
So if we feel like we're there, or if the numbers stop going up, then
I
let's
think
switch
that's
to
pretty
the
much it, Heather, if you want to.
result. Thank you. So drum roll. Okay, here we go. That is, it ranges from nothing up to sort of sevens, kind of three quarters confident, but
Mhm.
with quite a lot in between, doesn't it? I mean, it's a
Think
yeah,
we
it's
what
not
would
a
we probably
picture
say
of
that
massive confidence.
I think yeah, I mean a majority probably have lowish confidence, don't they? I think it's probably a reasonable summary,
Yes,
perhaps.
if we added up all the people who were kind of five or
Confidence
below,
is we might say confidence is low, perhaps, and I
yeah,
guess that James is entirely in line with what you were hearing from these large organizations.
completely, yes. And so, like, yes, I said at the beginning, you're not alone. Some of you clearly are feeling more confident. There are people who are answering seven, but most of you are below that, and many of you well below that. So why might somebody feel that in an organization, even if it's an organization with good principles? Well, one way to understand this is that every organization is navigating fundamental tensions, and they're tensions that have always existed. These are not new, they always will exist. But AI is making them more visible and certainly more urgent. I think there are three. This is the first one. It's between what we've called enablement and control. Those are forces and they pull in opposite directions. I suspect many of you feel this in some way, but the pull, the actual pull from each end is different in different organizations and teams. The strength changes as well. So I'm not going to do this today, but if I asked you to make a mark on the line to show you how it feel to show us how it feels where you work right now, probably all of you would choose different spots. And to explain what I mean by these terms, if you were all the way over here, sort of at the enablement end of the line, let's actually use the line. So if you were kind of here, if the line was a bit longer, it would be easier. But if you were all the way over here at the enablement end of the line, you would be using AI for anything and everything and driving uptake as fast and as wide as possible. And maybe you think that sounds great. Maybe you're doing it, but removing all that friction, it also reduces a lot of the sense of responsibility. There's not much room for someone to be skeptical or to verify anything, to have the confidence to say that didn't work very well. We need to do it again, or we shouldn't use AI for this task, or to speak up about a problem. If we picture an organization kind of over here, right at the control end, well, extreme control would be that everything is locked down. All the AI sites and apps are blocked on the company network and devices. You can't access anything. And every time a new platform starts up, the AI department detects that and adds it to the blacklist. But if you think about that, when control dominates, people are just going to find a way around it. This is happening a lot already. Shadow AI on your personal phone is really easy. Even if you make it very hard for me to get data off a company computer and into my public chat GPT account, well, I can just take a photo of anything on screen and use that. And we work with businesses.
James, I was going to say, so as well, I mean, I
Mm,
think just to point out as well, these aren't sort of hypothetical positions, aren't they? I mean, I know one of the organizations that you talked to as part of the
mm.
research was actually implementing a policy whereby people literally had to sort of get certified to use an AI tool.
Totally. Yes. Yeah,
To
no, absolutely. We work with businesses beyond the research as well who are at or close to both ends of this spectrum and as well as somewhere in the middle. We know places, we work with places where the message is genuinely use AI for anything and everything, don't hold back and don't question this approach. We work with others, as Owen says, like where AI access is limited to a small senior group who've made a business case for why they need AI, had that reviewed by a committee before they were given the permission. I suspect many of you are somewhere in between. The important point is that the forces are pulling against each other and they need to be balanced. Picking one of them does not guarantee anything. If you decide your strategy is all about enablement, there's absolutely no guarantee you'll get all the benefits. At the same time, trying to control everything doesn't in any way minimize risks. I'll say a bit more about that once I've explained the other two tensions so you can see the full picture. Because the second of these is between technology approval and human accountability. lots of organizations rely on formal IT testing and approval of tools. That's pretty normal. It's an established way of working. But if you take that approach to AI, if you went right down here, if you were at the kind of technology approval end, you're saying to people, we've tested this tool thoroughly. It's safe to use. It reliably produces output that is in line with all of our AI principles and policies and so on. Well, doing that, that really supports adoption and speed. But it also reduces the human stuff. It reduces the human checks on inputs and outputs. You're going to stop thinking so much about what you put into the AI tool because you've been told it's safe. Like it's okay to upload sensitive data, confidential data, because the tool's been tested and approved. You're less likely to check for hallucinations and mistakes and bias because if there's a problem, somebody else is ultimately accountable. You can probably say it's the IT department's fault. The opposite force, if you're kind of over here, if this one dominates, then we're sending a very clear message that whatever you do with AI, it's you who's doing it as an individual. You own this. You're responsible for everything you do with AI, for how it's done, for the quality, the accuracy, the bias, for living up to those principles. And we all know that AI is unreliable. Like computers will make errors, their output will represent historic biases. An AI tool, an LLM, can't think or understand anything in the way that a human can. So if you're given this imperfect tool and told to use it, but at the same time you are personally responsible for everything it does, I don't actually know how you do that without just becoming a servant to the AI, a kind of constant fact checker and analyst to assess the output. And remember, these tensions here, they describe what people are experiencing in real organizations. They come from this research. They reflect the position in major companies and charities and public sector employers. The research was anonymous, but you will, I promise, you will all have heard of the organizations that took part. And the third tension, this is between efficiency and culture. At the efficiency end, if you go all out for AI, you invest heavily, you get some amazing efficiency gains, productivity gains. Maybe you can reduce headcount by 50%. Maybe you don't need to hire junior people anymore. Maybe you become wildly successful. You put all your competitors out of business. But is that somewhere you want to work? Like if you value the established culture and ways of working, those things are all going to change dramatically in that world. You could pick the opposite extreme and say, well, we're going to protect culture at all costs and ignore efficiency. But if all your competitors are at the other end and they've cut their costs, it might not be sustainable. Your competitors might be relying on you to train the junior employees they need to hire as their next layer up of future AI managers. I hope these make sense. This is the three tensions together. And in case this isn't already clear, these terms are entirely neutral. None of these things are inherently good or bad. These are polarities. They're pulling against each other. They're not problems. You will sit somewhere between the extremes and your position will change over time. And it's not an abstract theory, even if it feels that way. The forces are real, and we identified them through this qualitative research from talking to a lot of people and finding out what's going on. These are from, I think, your peers, potentially your competitors.
I think it's worth saying, isn't it? I mean, what I think these bring to light really is so going right back to the weather map at the start, that the level of the uncertainty, the fogginess, the perhaps the slight sense of fear is, I think that's what the research really brought out is
Mm.
it is it is these tensions that really underpin that. And they're not, as it were, as James said, they're not necessarily things you can resolve. The tensions are always there, but it's understanding that these tensions exist and thinking whereabouts w within
Yeah.
these balances is our organization and where should we be? Where
Yeah.
so
Yes, and we want to ask you a bit about this. So this is another chat activity, and we just want to ask you how these feel today where you work. You can interpret them how you want to. I hope the way that I explained them is clear enough for you to do this. But just how you are experiencing this where you work. Where are you in the sense of being enabled to use AI for everything versus control? Where do you sit on that balancing between those two forces? What's happening in terms of you being told this technology is approved versus you're accountable, and kind of how you feel about that? Efficiency and culture, how those things work against each other. What what do you feel? What would you want to feel instead? We'll just spend a couple of minutes on this and see what you see what you share.
You might feel, I mean, for example, that, maybe perhaps your organization is really prioritizing culture. And there are interesting examples of that. I know that we've heard from clients where there's a lot of work done to, as it were, protect the culture of the organization as AI is rolled out. Um, Perhaps you work in an organization where there's a lot of control about the use of AI. Like the example we gave earlier, where sort of certifications are required before you
Mm.
have access to AI tools.
We may have opened up such a challenging question
Is
that
that
people
yeah, I know.
need some time to think about this. It's maybe something to return to. Oh, Philippa, there are regulatory things we have to consider due to ambiguity of contract. So we're limited what we can review and
Yeah.
use it for. Okay, so that is, yeah, I mean that's leaning on control. It's leaning perhaps towards human accountability. Potentially, there's technology approval in there as well. Thank you, Philippa. Claire is talking about limited to Copilot, so that is kind of biased by the organisation.
Interesting from Tim, another example of certification being needed. Thanks for that, Tim.
I
Before,
think
oh, okay, this is good.
just while you, I mean, I was going to jump in with Claire's point, which is we're left to get on with it.
Yeah.
We get to see much consequence from this balance, mostly seen as a time management tool versus something that impacts culture.
Really interesting point from Hattie, actually. So she's saying we have a great balance of enablement versus control. So I guess that's helping people feel safe that you can do things, but I guess the sense of that there are controls in place, which sounds really good. But efficiency and culture is much trickier, and that's a really interesting point. I think that's exactly right to say as well, is that these tensions, to a certain extent, operate independently. So, as
Yeah,
Hattie's indicating, you might feel we're definitely in the right place on one, but
yeah.
there are challenges on another one.
And it's entirely possible for organizations to ignore some of these. I mean, in a way, that's where the potential for risk increases. You might, if you're not paying attention to this, if you don't understand what's happening,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you probably should. Interesting point about having an aging workforce. Most people are completely against change. If it does happen, they drag their feet. So I suppose people are kind of voting for culture, maybe through their
Exactly.
own through
Say
their
that.
own
That's right.
action.
The culture may be very dominant there, isn't it,
Yeah,
among that and that. So, but if pressure is coming,
yeah.
for example, from leadership to achieve efficiencies, then that's where you really feel that tension.
And noting Jess's point, we're struggling with enablement as the majority of the business are restricted to only Copilot chat, which is extremely limited. So I suppose that is saying, okay, well, we've approved Copilot chat, so we're leaning on the technology approval. But maybe we want, Jess hasn't said this, but maybe we want the enablement, but we are not actually making that possible we're doing more of the control than we would like to. We want the efficiency and the enablement, but we can't at the moment. Confusion about efficiency versus culture, says Jess as well. Lots of people asking for training to understand AI more. I think it's actually managing this balance they're asking for, understanding when to use it and when not to ensure the
Mm.
culture we want. I think it's a brilliant point, and it leads beautifully into where this session is going, Jess. So we'll be interested to hear your feedback on that. We had another comment from Tim. Software that comes with AI. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. And I've heard this from other organizations where they use tools like Adobe tools, like Photoshop and so on. And the supplier puts AI into the tool. You don't have a choice about that. It's not a thing that you can decline. It just comes and it's presented as a brilliant new feature, but there's no guidance on whether you can use it. You don't really know how it fits with what you want for your organization for AI, and that can be challenging, tricky. Have we missed any amazing comments, Owen? I think they're all amazing, but have we kind of covered the
Possibly,
spread?
but
And I think
but I think
we'll
interestingly, I mean, thanks to everyone for
yeah,
putting some thoughtful things. Appreciating it. It takes a while to type responses
yes.
to an answer like this, but there's really, really interesting points in there, and I hope it reflects the fact that these tensions are really recognizable and apparent for all organizations. And I think it's right to say as well, we ourselves here in our own organization at Acteon are wrestling with these tensions just like any other
Yeah.
organization. Yeah.
And and to kind of to return to the point that Owen was making just before we started that chat. You came today because I think because you're interested in helping your people be good at AI. So why are we talking about these tensions? And it is because this gap that I talked about is real. It's real in lots of organizations. If you feel it, if you feel uncomfortable, there's a good chance that these tensions are why. And this is Jess's point about people who work in your organizations feeling uncomfortable. And remember, I said at the beginning, the outcomes here depend to a large extent on what people do at an individual level. The tensions create the context in which people are working, in which they make those choices and decisions. I think, to a large extent, create the gap because they're shaping people's behaviour, even if you don't realise it. So we're going to look at why taking a behavioural approach closes that gap. This is our approach. This is what Acteon does, and we're going to tell you why it works and why we think this is important here. And by behavioural approach, I really mean paying attention to what people do or what they don't do, and working out how you can positively influence their behaviour to get better outcomes. Not in a kind of underhand, secretive, influency kind of way. It's not sort of manipulation. It's about thinking what's actually going to help people do well, what's going to help the people who work here and the organisation as a whole flourish, but making it about things that they can do as individuals, not things that the organisation does. Because the opportunities and risks emerge from those decisions they're making every day. Organisations don't do things, organisations don't act, people, individuals act, and that really matters. If you think about the risks that people might come up with in connection with AI, we're not going to ask you to make a list, but they could be things like this, like inaccurate meeting notes, a reference that's wrong, a data breach, compliance failure, maybe a decision that shouldn't have been made by an unsupervised computer. People often think about these as technology failures, and a lot of the AI conversation is about technology. But fundamentally, these are about humans, and they're specifically about human behaviours. Because these things all relate to what people do. Do I check those notes or the reference? Do I upload some data that I shouldn't? Do I hand this over to an agent? Do I use the vibe coded tool my colleague created but can't explain or maintain? Those are decisions we decide in the moment, and AI can speed those moments up. It can multiply our ability to do things. I think sometimes it means one person can do more things, bigger things, faster than they could before. If we go back to those AI principles I showed you earlier, like these are good. I mean, who wouldn't want these? You would probably want to say stuff like this. They make you feel good. They're easy to say, they're very hard for people to do. And to make that point really obvious, if you think about how we help people make better decisions when they're using the roads, we make it really easy for them. I know people don't always follow the rules, but we use prompts like this. They require almost no thought to interpret or use. And once you're familiar with this, it works almost at the autopilot level of our brains. We know what they mean and we know how to respond. We don't do it like this. If I tell you to drive ethically and responsibly, could you do that right now? Would you all do the same things? I genuinely don't think anyone could know that unless they tried to find out. But this is how a lot of employers are telling people to use AI. And in a way, it just shifts responsibility for being good at it down the chain to the end user. I mentioned humans operating on autopilot a moment ago. We do a lot without conscious thought. And we are complicated and unpredictable and not always rational. We're not very good at understanding or changing our own behavior. We often don't do things we know we should, even if we say we want to do them. I put in this picture of my family's exercise bike at home because I think it makes that point very well. We do also have a rowing machine, but I couldn't take a photo of it because the huge cardboard box from my wife's new treadmill is in the way. And something that's even harder than changing what you do yourself is changing what other people do. Trying to get other people to do things differently is hard. But you know this, I think. People don't usually change just because you tell them to, even if you try to force them to do things differently. But again, this is how a lot of places are approaching AI. Tell people to use it. tell them to use it effectively, tell them to use it responsibly, and then assume that they'll do what you
I
said.
was just thinking, this picture perfectly encaptures the point you made earlier about, when you try and certify the use of, if you put barriers in the way,
Mm,
there's a way round. People will find the way round.
absolutely. People are very, very, very good at finding ways around, and they will. The things that they are incentivized to do won't necessarily be the things that you expect. There can be unintended consequences, although in this case, I think the consequences were pretty obvious to anybody who thought about it before installing the barriers. So if all these risks we're talking about and also the opportunities to do good stuff with AI, if all those things really are human, then you need to take what you want and think about it in terms of human behavior. Make AI something people can actually do. Simple everyday actions that make people good at AI. And maybe something like this, like maybe these are the things that you want. They might not be, but it's an example. Like imagine if everyone where you work was doing these 5 things when they use AI, taking a moment to think before they use it, making it a conscious choice, making sure it's appropriate, guiding the AI well, being intentional and clear in their prompting, not making the AI guess. As they do all this, protecting what's private, avoiding data risk, and not just accepting the first output they get from AI, not just treating it as a kind of search engine that magically gives them the right result, but working with it to improve the answer. And throughout all of it, throughout all their work, owning it and doing things, acting in ways that build trust and accountability, and they kind of make this visible and transparent and normal and not something to be ashamed of. Those are 5 simple things. They put an individual in control. AI experts, IT experts broadly agree that these things improve outcomes in any organization using AI. This is kind of best practice in very simple terms. We're going to do another poll. This is also completely anonymous like the last one, and we want to ask you why someone where you work would not do these simple things. If Heather can load that poll up, the question is, what's the barrier or the biggest barrier to people doing something simple like taking a moment before they load up an AI tool? Maybe they don't know how, or they've not been told to do it. Maybe they don't care, or they're just not that interested. Maybe they're really busy and there's nothing to prompt or remind them. You might look at those options and you think, well, those options are stupid. It's far more complicated than that, James, in which case you can choose that option. Or you might genuinely not know. But our question is, what's the biggest barrier to people doing simple things that make a difference and have a positive impact? We'll just give you a moment to do
We've
that.
got a
And as
few.
before, I will ask my colleagues to let me know when we've got a decent number of responses.
Just give it a few more seconds. Um, how are we doing? That looks pretty good, I
We got
think.
a good
Yeah,
sample of people.
there we go.
Let's see the results,
Oh,
Heather.
couple more coming in just at the end there. But I think we can see the results
Yeah,
now.
yeah, let's load the results up, Heather. What have we got? So I assume participants can see this. If anyone can't, then say that in the chat, and then I'll read it out in more detail. But yeah, what's the biggest barrier to these things? The single biggest barrier by a clear margin is that you can. Thank you for posting that. People are busy and nothing prompts or reminds them. We know people are busy. I mean, that is a constant thing, isn't it? The second weightiest barrier is that people don't know how or they've not been told. And then, interestingly, the next one is it's more complicated. And then the smallest number of votes is for they don't care or they just aren't interested in
Which is
AI.
really interesting, isn't it? This is a great if this result were widely true, it's actually quite a positive one, I think, because it probably the hardest lever to pull is with people who just don't care or aren't interested.
Mm,
It's really about not knowing or having to sort of cut through distraction. Actually, that offers a good opportunity
mm.
potentially to influence people's behaviors in positive ways.
But and both of those things that came out on top, the they don't know how or they've not been told, and nothing prompts or reminds them. Well, both of those things are they're genuinely more careful. They're more easier than making people care. Like you can't make somebody care really. Generally, that's a pretty hard thing to do. Thank you for your answers. That is really helpful and interesting to see how you responded. And we're going to come back to all of those, and you'll see kind of why we asked that and how your answers relate to our approach in a moment. Because I want to look at a specific action in a very particular scenario. Let's imagine that you work in the complaints department of a bank. Your job is reviewing AI generated responses to customer complaints. You are here to review each complaint response and approve it. You are the human in the loop. That's what you've been told. This is the 300th letter that you've seen today. The other 299 seemed okay. I mean, this one's probably fine too. You've been doing this for a few weeks now. So do you check it? You don't have to answer that. We're not going to do a poll. But the point for illustrating this particular action of checking in these circumstances is to explain how behavioural science helps us understand what you do in that moment and why. There are three things that need to come together for anyone to act, and this doesn't just apply to this scenario, it applies to any action, any human behaviour. You need the capability. You need to know what to do and how to do it. You've got the skills and information that you need. And interestingly, that was our second from top barrier, wasn't it? Is that people don't know how to do these things. They don't know how to do the simple things with AI that make a difference. You need the motivation. You need to care. You need to care enough. It has to matter enough to you. You want to do it, or at least there's nothing that you don't care so little you don't do it. One of the ways to increase motivation is to make things easier. So given what Owen was saying about how difficult it can be to influence that, actually you can almost do the opposite. You can make things easier, so motivation can happen at a lower level and still have the action take place. And you need the opportunity. People need the chance to do this. Nothing's getting in the way. Something prompts you to act. You've got the right resources and support. And when people are busy, again, that was our biggest barrier. When people are busy, well, that kind of destroys opportunity. If you don't work in a climate where this is possible, or things get in the way, then the action isn't going to happen. And you need the right balance. The kind of shape of this changes depending on the action and the organisation, and to be honest, the individual. The day of the week, it might change within the day. But these things need to be present in the right balance for the thing to happen. And so, thinking behaviourally, looking at these drivers, capability, motivation, opportunity, it gives you an opportunity to shape what people actually do in the moments that matter, and to make it more likely that they do things like these in connection with using AI. These actions come from our work at Acteon to combine insights from behavioural science with AI best practice. We made this into a series of short TikTok-style training videos that cover these 5 actions. They're designed to help anyone use AI responsibly and well to kind of meet the basic need. And to say anywhere that could get more people doing more of these things, more of the time, more consistently, it would make that organisation a better place. And to be honest, if everybody was doing them, it would make society a better place. I'm going to play you one of these now. It's the Guide It Well one, how to guide an LLM clearly and quickly. It's only 90 seconds. I know some of you may have seen it before, but I encourage you to watch because I think it's a great example of how you explain something like this really easily, simply and clearly in a way that almost anybody could do for a wide range of job roles.
In the next 90 seconds, I'm going to tell you the one thing that will take your use of AI to the next level. Want to guess? No offense, but you probably won't be that accurate. AI has the same problem when you ask it to do something without guiding it well. It's easy to fire off a vague request and accept the first answer, but the quality of what you get from AI depends on what you put in. If it doesn't know exactly what you want and why, it has to guess. And that guess, just like yours, could be completely wrong. Luckily, there's an easy fix. Check your prompt before you hit go. You need to guide it properly. Ask yourself, is my request crystal clear? Have I said who this is for and how it'll be used? Have I given it all the detail it needs to do the job well? And if the first response you get from AI is vague or misses the mark, fill in the gaps. Give it an example. Be more specific. Just like when you ask a colleague to do something, you explain what you need. Email this customer about the delay, apologise and offer a call. Any questions? Brief it well, and that's a massive head start. Then it's up to you to refine what comes back. Don't rely on AI to guess what you mean. Guide it well and get the results you want.
So when you take a behavioral approach, this is how it can look. It's not the only way it can look. It's a way it can look, but it's about getting really super specific about the simple things you want people to do and then finding ways to communicate them as clearly and simple as possible. And this kind of basic training is so important. I'm not going to try and guess at the capability level in any of your organizations, although some of you have touched on that and it came up in the poll a moment ago. But there's loads of data and insight about what's happening globally. Like hundreds of millions of people are using these tools every day. It's one of the biggest and fastest tech changes in history. But most of the people doing these things have never had any training. They don't understand how LLMs work or how to use them well. They don't know the dangers. They don't understand how the systems function behind the scenes. At the same time, you've got employers saying, well, here's your new AI tool. Go and use it to do your job. Use it to be more effective. And, oh, you've been doing that for a few weeks, so now start making some agents and connecting it all together behind the scenes. And so actions like these, they're really simple, but they really matter. You can change how you present them. The format can be different. You can brand them. You can make them exactly right for your culture. You might need details for particular jobs or policies or regulations, but you've got to help people develop the basic capabilities. And it's almost certainly not enough just to give people some content to watch, even if it's good, because we've said quite a lot that what actually matters is the behaviors and making it more likely people will do the things you've identified. You've got to understand what those behaviors are where you work. It will be specific to your role as well as these kind of simple things. And then you need to help people use them. And that gets us back to capability, opportunity, and motivation. And we've done this for lots of clients to support lots of different changes, things like the stuff you can see on screen here in different mixes, in different places. The approach works anywhere. But once you understand the behavior change you need, one of the best places to start is by writing it down. Right, we call it a strategic narrative. So this is where you explain what this means, where you work, why it matters to the organization, why it matters to the people who work there as individuals, what they're going to be doing differently as a result, and why, and really what's in it for them, for us, for all of us, because this is the foundation of everything that comes next. And it's where, if you haven't already, you need to start finding your voice. Like, this is how we talk about AI here. It's something that we're in control of. We're talking about this in our way, the right way for us. You can't be woolly and blurred. You can't just say, oh, well, we're using AI to be more efficient and productive, because that's what everyone's doing. And it's what Microsoft or OpenAI tells us we can do. It might be true, but if you don't understand what your people are going to do differently, or why any of them would care, then you have to work that out first, because you're going to use that narrative to help you develop a campaign that will change behavior, practical communication and learning, maybe like those videos I showed you, using all your internal channels to reach people, putting prompts in the workplace, nudging people to create opportunities for them to change. A prompt can be something really simple, like a sticker on a laptop, helping people have good conversations, helping managers talk to people about AI when they're not confident and not expert themselves, creating simple performance support tools and job aids. There's so much stuff here. I can't talk about all of them, or we would be here for much longer than any of you signed up for, although we are always very, very happy to talk about this stuff. Just to note that last one on the list, impact measures, don't wait till the end to think about this. Right from the start, think, how will we know this is working? What can we do quickly? What can we prototype or pilot? Where are the priority areas? How can we measure the change? How can we evolve the solution? Thinking about the tensions can be helpful here, because it gives you a thing that you can talk about and kind of feel and imagine where you are and where you want to be. Really what you want to do is get these kind of behaviors to become normal, make them into habits, things people do without even noticing. That's kind of the point. But doing that through understanding where you are now, where you want to be, working out how you can shape the moments that matter when people can do something different. It's not a one-off thing. It's a campaign. It's a sustained activity that helps you bridge the gap between what you want to happen and what's actually happening. I could go on, but I'm not going to because we've got a final question for you guys before we wrap up. And it's to ask you what you want people to do differently with AI where you work. Put your answers in the chat, please. We'll just spend a couple of minutes on this, see what you come up with. What do you want people to do differently with AI?
Yeah. Or and perhaps we could also frame that as what would make a big difference to people within your organization, I guess. How do you think
Hmm.
people could be helped to use to be good at AI, I guess, for the
But
need.
and the thing that you want people to do differently might be to use it in the first place. Like we spend all this money on a tool and people don't use it enough, or it might be they use it too much. We want them to stop and slow down a bit, put a bit more friction in place. We've got a comment from Hattie: critical thinking, enhancing their human skills and partnering with AI to enhance them, not replace their thinking. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And that really is the philosophy behind that those simple action training videos that
These
we
just
showed you. It's
made reinforce the point you made before, James. Workplace tutorials to learn
yeah,
how to use it, and I
yeah.
think exactly, isn't it? I mean, it sounds simple, but actually, it's amazing how little of that is really being done.
And the bit that I love doing and really want to do more of because the impact is phenomenal is actually sitting down with people and working through exercises that help them see what's going on. This point about people not understanding the technology, there are things we can do where in half an hour people come away thinking, wow, okay, now I understand what's actually happening.
Yeah,
Tim,
it
taking
was.
ownership.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yes,
Tim's called
not
that
just
key
using the first
behavior.
output. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Rebecca, keep hearing, wish people would share their stories more, good and bad. Absolutely. I think there still is a bit of a sense of this is a thing to be secretive about it until you know you're doing it right. Like it's not, you don't say to your colleague, oh, well, I wrote that with AI or
yeah.
whatever. It's uncommon, certainly.
I think Jess makes a really interesting point about in the moment prompts, I think
Mm,
as well. And I think that really is makes the point about, sustained communication. So
mm,
these are simple behaviors. Hopefully, they're easy for people to adopt, but we absolutely do need to keep being prompted to use those simple behaviors. And we've done quite a lot of work on that. And there's behavioral insights explain how habits are
yeah,
built. And if you visit our website, you can find some sort of top tips and explanations of how to incorporate
yeah.
those prompts into daily workflow.
Yeah, yeah, there's some really helpful comments here, and we can follow up on any of these. And any of you want to talk about these things, these are the things we care about too. Using AI to enhance, not inhibit collaboration, yes. And yeah, Bethan's making a point about the fact that it can be obvious when people are using AI, but not talking
People
about
don't
it.
admit to it.
There
Yeah.
are there are so many things people want to be different, or for people to do differently, and we could probably do an entire session on that. Maybe we should. I'm going to wrap. Is it okay if I wrap up? I think we should, and then people can get to wherever they've got to be at 11 o'clock. Um, but we will read all of these again later. K, simple guide, help teams feel they're not giving away. Well, yes, help people
And
feel confident they're
just
not
think,
giving
yeah,
away
I
what they
mean,
shouldn't.
a huge thank you for some great insights and
Yeah,
sharing in the chat. Actually, it's just really, really interesting to see this. And I think,
genuinely is.
I think, like us, I hope you all appreciate as well that all organisations are kind of finding their way with these
Yeah,
challenges. There's huge amounts of uncertainty. That's kind of normal, and it just is
yeah,
really interesting to hear the reflections of other people working in this area and
yeah.
the kind of challenges, but also opportunities that you're finding.
And I sense as well, this is more of a kind of note to self and colleagues, that if we created more opportunities for people like you guys to come together and just have an open discussion about this, as a Chatham House rules kind of thing, that people want to do that. People genuinely need space to talk. And I'm just going to wrap up quickly and in two things really before I say thank you and goodbye. The first is uh, if you've not seen that research that I shared earlier, please let us know. Either pop a message in the chat and say send it to me, or get in touch. Most of you will have an email address for one of us, or the ones that you've signed up with. So do ask us; we can send it. It's on the website as well in the news section. We would love to continue this conversation with any or all of you who want to. If you scan the QR code on screen, it'll take us to a form where you can book a 20-minute call with us to talk about your specific challenge, and we would really like to do that. It might mean training people in essential skills. It might be about developing people's confidence and kind of activating their critical thinking. It might actually be about helping leaders understand how they want this technology to work in the organization and how to have a meaningful conversation about AI strategy when they're not all in the same place, either emotionally or technically. That can be a tough position for a board where this is an IT thing, but everybody needs to sign up. That is a great conversation to be having now. Please talk to us. Everything we've talked about today is about unlocking the potential of AI in the right way. Please get in touch with us if we can help you get this right in your organisation. And we really appreciated your input. I kind of wish we had enough time to talk about all of this in way more detail because it would be fascinating, and I would love to hear more from all of you. We will do this again, and we will invite you, and I hope you can come and that you can bring colleagues and friends and other people too. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining in. I hope it's been helpful. Keep in touch with us, sign up for a call, and enjoy the rest of your day. And good luck with all of this, wherever you work. We really want to hear how you get on.